All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. This is going to be a short stream. Hopefully, this is a double header. I haven't done this in a while. I did something over on my original channel, which you could argue is the precursor to this. I will share it on the community tab here once I finish with this, but there was a stream that was done earlier related to this. Let me make sure I could see myself on YouTube. Let's see. Yep, I am live. I am live. Okay, I'm going to play my intro and then I am going to get started. And the sooner I start, the sooner I can finish up and relax a little bit. All right, I will see you on the other side of the intro. This is going to be an important question. And I think I touched upon this in another stream. But this recent incident with the teacher and the student and the pepper spray, with this incident, someone raised the question again: What is social media and our cell phones? What are they doing to us? And also, what have these things done to the younger generations? Because I'm a Gen Xer, there was a time when we didn't have cell phones and we didn't have social media and we weren't always looking at the palm of our hand for the next ping or the next alert or for hearts or likes or followers. I can remember a time when we didn't have this stuff. And then there's going to come a time when people like me will be gone. And so all that will be left are people who know and remember social media and wireless devices and computers and hearts and follows and likes. So after this intro, I'm going to jump in. We're gonna do a brief discussion on what dopamine is because that's the word I keep hearing as it relates to social media and what it does to human beings. And then I'm going to read something I think from the Academy. It's going to be a little dense, but it kind of unpacks the concern for what this technology is doing to humans and particularly younger people. So see you on the other side of the intro. All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Big Discussions 76 Science and Technology. First of all, please like the stream, please share it, and please subscribe if you see fit. I appreciate the people who come back here weekly and hang out in the chat and sound off and let their opinions and thoughts be known, even though sometimes you might not know what I'm talking about. I was actually talking to my best friend last weekend. I spoke to my best friend and he says, I follow your channels, but that science channel, I try to watch it, but I don't understand what you're talking about. And a lot of what you discuss over there just kind of goes over my. So that's a real thing. That's a real thing. These topics, there are certain people who are number one curious, but then there are certain people who are just not in the know about the things we and I talk about over here. I don't know. Princessa says, I like it. Princessa, I appreciate that. I don't know since I am FBA, I'm African American, of African descent and born here in the United States. I don't know if it's cultural or if we as a people are just interested in different things. But me and my best friend did have that conversation last week. I think he was referring to my discussion with members from the G6PD Foundation. I haven't spoken to them in a while, but some of those conversations did get a little bit complex. But I'm just saying that to say that I appreciate those of you who come over here on a weekly basis. Professor Black Ops, thank you for stopping through. We're gonna talk a little bit about the dangers of this technology and what it's theorized to do. I did a quick search. I haven't seen any hard data on social media increasing um, dopamine activity in the brain. I don't know how they could test that on humans. So they would have to test that on animals somehow, maybe create a system where you have an animal, an organism, a rat, or a primate looking at a screen and then monitoring their neurological function, or else maybe, okay, when you're working with animals, oftentimes the animal does get sacrificed, but sacrificing the animal at the end and looking at its brain sections or looking at the expression of proteins, that's the only way I think you could measure that, because it's it's unethical to perform experiments on humans that aren't um, invasive or humane. Okay, so I'm saying this to say that I don't know how you could test that, whether or not it's actually causing these changes in the brain and the increased secretion of dopamine. Anyway, anyway, I was looking at some of the comments here in the chat. Where did this stream come from? Well, I decided to do this one yesterday over on my original channel. I This morning I did a stream about 45 minutes asking the question, is it still safe to be a teacher in the United States in 2023? I essentially asked that question, and that question came from the young woman who pepper sprayed her teacher in Tennessee. I think it was Antioch High School. So this teacher had taken her phone because I think she was sharing answers or getting answers or something. And he took her phone. She demanded the phone back. He wouldn't give it. She followed him into the hallway and then pepper sprayed him. Where does dopamine come into this picture? And I'm going to explain what dopamine is in a second for those of you who don't know. I suspect everyone in here knows what that is. But the question was, someone else asked this, was the addiction to her phone and her social media, or whatever it is that device was doing for her, was it that strong that him taking it compelled her to pepper spray him? Was that her drug? Did she need her drug back? Maybe. I tend to think that she took it as a huge disrespect for him to take it, and that was her way of um, settling the score or getting her device back. And it may have been more of a social thing, but it may also have been the fact that she needed her phone. And then so the question was, and the question is, for generations to for generations that have only known the internet and social media, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Reddit, Instagram, for generations who have only known this, are we creating lifelong addictions to these devices and to social media? Is that what's happening right now? And it's a very, very compelling question. There are those of you in the chat, like I said before I played the intro, I I'm from a generation that witnessed the change, and there was a time when we didn't have these, and we didn't have an internet, we didn't have Facebook and Twitter and TikTok and Instagram. So this is all new. And before I jump in, because I don't want to belabor this and be on this forever, I've attempted to take a step back from social media in my own way. YouTube is considered a social media platform. So I come and I create content for business purposes. I'm working on a book, but also here on this channel, I am seeing if I can carve a path as a science influencer. So I come here for a purpose. But in my Facebook network, and you all let me know if you're still on Facebook, and if you're feeling like sharing, how big is your Facebook network? In my Facebook network right now, I have 1,700 some odd people in my Facebook network. They're not all friends, they're Facebook friends. And I've traveled around. I grew up in Buffalo. I traveled for school to Charlotte. Well, I went to Rockport first. I went to Charlotte, and then I traveled to Ann Arbor, lived there for a while. Then I traveled over to Albany. I lived there for a while. Now I live in the DMV. So I have, yeah, 1,700 some odd Facebook friends, many of whom I don't talk to regularly. But after a while, seeing everything as a viewer, seeing everything has begun to take its toll. Seeing everybody's story, seeing everybody's posts, everybody's opinions, everybody's issues. At some point, it's become too much. And then depending upon the group that you're in, yeah, it watching people argue over relationships and dating and the state of the black community, and geez, I'm not in any political Facebook groups. I am a part of some basketball groups, one or two comic book groups, but seeing my point is seeing everything after a while, it can take its toll on you. The same is true for Twitter. Twitter, and I joked here, I think in a stream a month or so ago, Twitter has become like Instagram, where you're seeing all kinds of pretty pictures and fitted dresses, scantily clad ladies, and being asked about, do you give hugs on a first date, and being, pictures posted with, I love my body now. Do you like my body? It's just after a while, it gets to be too much. So I'm trying to stay off of Facebook for long periods of time. I log out. I wasn't logged out before, so I don't get alerts around the clock now because I'm logged out. And I try to log off the Twitter as well, so I'm not in all the time. I don't stay logged into Instagram, so I'm not in there all the time. So I'm saying this to say that I'm practicing staying out, so I'm not seeing everything. Okay. Char Willie says, well, Princessa says, I disappear from social media for months at a time. Okay. Char Willie says maybe 500. Some people keep their networks small. I always envied years ago. I envied people who had 2,000 and 3,000 friends, but that comes at a cost as well. And the other thing I learned, I talked about this on my stream this morning, is that I learned that, well, pretty much on any social media platform, you have to be careful about well, you don't have to be careful about what you say, but in an era where everything is offensive to somebody, you just never know. Even just posting something, you never know who that's going to trigger. Or if you retweet something, you never know who that's going to trigger. You never know who's going to say, "Oh, you posted this on your page," or "You retweeted this," or "You were talking to so and so," or "You were hanging out with so and so." You just never know. Aquateki says Facebook is the devil. Well, it can be. Yeah, it can be. And Facebook will put you in jail, just like Twitter will deactivate. I'm sorry, just like YouTube will take your channel down. So there's Facebook jail. I've never been in Facebook jail, but that happens. Princessa says, my Facebook network is global. There are thousands. Okay. She says, I operate on social media as I do in real life. I have the same rules on and offline. Well, I've learned you have to be careful on here. Professor Black Ops says, Instagram is the new Playboy. It is overwhelming coming from the 90s. Okay. Let's talk about, well, yeah, that's true. And not to mention TikTok and what that's doing. So dopamine. So is this setting off a nonstop dopamine loop in the brains of people who are using social media and who are on their cell phones all the time? So what is dopamine and why do we care? Why is it important? Well, we're going to go back to physiology 101. Pharmacologists and toxicologists have to know some physiology so that we understand what drugs and toxicants do to living systems. So there are whole classes and textbooks on the brain. So this is not the cartoon that I wanted. I have another one that actually gives the actual names of the regions. Okay. And once I find this, I promise I'm going to sprint right through this because it's not healthy to be on a screen for your entire Saturday. I have another brain cartoon that I want to share. Please hit that like button if you haven't. The likes are free. I have so many files in here I have to go through slowly. Okay, that's the one I just showed. That's the one I just showed. I think this one is, the name begins with an R. And if I can't find it, I'm just going to move on without it. Here we go. Regions of the brain. This one is much easier for me to present to an audience. Okay, regions of the brain. The brain has several regions. There's the frontal lobe, the parietal lobe, the occipital lobe, the temporal lobe, the brainstem, and the cerebellum. And each of those regions has a function. And there is well, let me show you. Each tissue in the body has a different cell type. And for the brain is composed of a complex network of neurons. The background of this stream is a nice illustration of that. So I'll let you guys take a look at it for a second. I'll take a sip of my tea and I'll come back. So when you think about the brain, how it works, this is a good illustration of that. Okay, so the brain is made up of lots and lots of neurons. Okay, and the way those neurons work, let's see, do you have it? Do you have it? Do I have it? Yeah, here it is right here. The neurons look like this. So you have a cell body right there, and I think that's orange or yellow. And then you have an axon, which are covered by myelin sheaths. And you have your nodes of Ranvier in between those myelin sheaths. And then you have your axon terminal. Okay, so you have a beginning. It has the brain, the cells in your brain, the neurons. They're I'll say they're polarized. You have different sides of it. So you have your cell body here, and then you have your the end of your axon here. When that cell gets activated, an impulse. I'm not a neuroscientist, so I'm not gonna attempt to get down into the weeds of this, but an action potential is created, that cell is activated, and depending upon the type of neuron that is, it's gonna release a certain kind of neurotransmitter. Okay. That's going to be released on another cell. That's how an impulse gets sent across a network of neurons. Okay. So I'm going to focus our attention now to synapses. Synapses. So you have a presynaptic terminal from one cell, and you have a postsynaptic terminal from another cell. And so when that cell, which that presynaptic terminal belongs to, when that's activated, it releases a neurotransmitter into that synaptic cleft. Okay, and that neurotransmitter binds receptors on the postsynaptic terminal, activating that cell. Okay, or activating or causing that sensation. So that's how neurotransmitters work. So dopamine, this is a naturally occurring neurotransmitter. This is a naturally occurring substance in our bodies. This is the structure for dopamine. And at this time, science, it's well understood that dopamine is a neurotransmitter that is involved in you feeling good and in you having a euphoric sensation. The same is true for serotonin. a month or so ago, I talked about serotonin and I think it's specific or selective reuptake inhibitors, SSRIs. Those function the same way. You have serotonin being released in a synaptic cleft and affecting the next cell, and that's involved in relaxation and overall good feeling. Cocaine, a popular drug in the 1980s, whether it was pure cocaine or whether it was crack cocaine. How does cocaine work? How does cocaine work? This is the structure for cocaine. What cocaine does, I just showed you a synaptic cleft, a presynaptic terminal, and a postsynaptic terminal. What cocaine does, if you look at those yellow Pac-Mans, those are um, dopamine transporters. So after the dopamine enters into the cleft and it binds, it releases. And for a normal, healthy individual, it'll go back up into that presynaptic neuron via that dopamine transporter. What the cocaine does is it blocks the reuptake of that dopamine back into the presynaptic neuron. So it's staying in the synapse longer, it's binding those dopamine receptors longer, and it's causing those receptors to continue to fire off over and over and over and over and over again. And that's where the high comes from. That's how people get high off of crack and cocaine. I've never tried it. I don't know what it feels like. I will admit, a part of me has always, should I say this online? A part of me has always been curious to know what that feels like. Not that I would do it, but with the amount of damage that it's caused people and for as with it making people feel so good, yeah, I've wondered what that feels like. Not that I would ever try it. But where does there's a term called chasing the dragon. And what that term refers to is the user after they try it and they get hooked on it, they will forever and for the duration of the time they're using the drug, they will forever be chasing that initial high. And they will, and it's rare they can get that initial high back. And the reason they're always chasing that initial high is because the cells in the brain they adapt. So once those receptors keep getting stimulated over and over and over again, uh, th- they downregulate so that there isn't as much firing or the firing isn't the same as it was initially, and that's where the adaptation comes from. If any neuroscientists watch this, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm trying to say that the body eventually adapts so subsequent highs are not like the initial highs. Okay, so we're not talking about cocaine per se in this one, but what I wanted to communicate is it's the dopamine signaling and it's the dopamine sensation that's been theorized to be impacted by cell phones and social media. So we're getting something in here from being on these all the time and getting the alerts and getting the likes and getting the subscribers. It's theorized that that's the part of the brain that these things are impacting. So I'm going to read something and then I'm going to wrap up. I'm going to go with the more dense one because this is a science channel and well, we should we should be challenged a little bit. Char Willie says, a hell of a drug. Yeah, I believe yeah, Snowfall was based upon crack cocaine. Snowfall is based on that. Aquateki says, I don't want to know what it feels like the 1980s, 90s public service announcements worked too well on me. That's right. That's right. I would never want to lose control of my life to the point where I'm dependent on a substance and I can't function. Okay, I found this link. I'm going to read this. It's a little dense, but it's short. It's shorter, and it gets to what may be taking place. By the way, I seen this gentleman's face when I was adding the links to this stream on the YouTube side. This man's name was in the list of links. Andrew Huberman. I probably should know who this is, but he's a neuroscientist, but I will be looking this gentleman up afterwards. So he's done a lot of work in neuroscience, and he's got a channel here. So I'm going to sub his channel and check him out. Anyway, let's see. So I'm going to read this one. You guys keep letting me know your comments and thoughts in the chat. This is from the Journal of Neurology and Neurophysiology. This is from 2020. It's entitled Neurotransmitter Dopamine and Its Role in the Development of Social Media Addiction. Now, there's no data in this. This is all text, but I will take a look to see if this individual, this is written by Racine Buren from St. George's University Hospitals NHS Foundation Trust in the United Kingdom. And I also did not share this to my original channel. Give me a second, everyone. Please, yeah, keep letting me know what you think there in the chat. Okay, let me share this. All right, that was shared. Now I'm going to go back to my channel. All right. So this is the abstract. Social media today has become an integral part of people's lives worldwide. It can cause addiction with dopamine implicated. This is perpetuated through feedback loop mechanisms acting uh, through a dopamine reward system, keeping the users in the loop. Social media has helped many people around the world in different ways, connecting people globally and providing easy access to different types of information. However, overuse of the platforms and the application algorithm by individuals may be detrimental to their physical and mental well being. There should therefore be increased awareness campaigns to address this contemporary issue and help to balance its impact on society, maximizing its positive utility and minimizing its potential adverse impacts. So this is going to review what I just described regarding dopamine. That may be a smoother discussion. So introduction to dopamine, that's the chemical formula for it, C8H11NO2. Dopamine is a naturally occurring type of neurotransmitter. It is known to have numerous important roles in body. It is known to have numerous important roles in the body and specifically the brain. Biochemically, it belongs to the catecholamine and phenylethylamine category of organic chemicals. It has many functions in the brain, including memory, reward pathways, and motor coordination. It is released by the neurons and sends signals to other nerve cells within the central nervous system. There are several distinct dopamine pathways in the brain, and includes integration with reward motivated behavior. Generally, it is seen to be the pleasure chemical when there is talk of the underlying mechanism behind why humans feel pleasure. And there is a myriad of other things which can bring this about. More research into dopamine has revealed a tangential idea that is involved with motivational salience. This is related to the uh, avariciveness or desirability of an organism's behavior towards or away from reaching an outcome. It is understood that there are several important diseases affecting the nervous system where dopamine plays a substantial role in the pathogenesis. This includes Parkinson's disease, which is a neurodegenerative condition which is known to be caused by a loss of dopamine secreting neurons in the substantia nigra para compacta. It has a metabolic precursor, which is known as L-DOPA, otherwise commonly referred to as levodopa. Another condition where dopamine plays an integral role is schizophrenia. It is interesting to note that most antipsychotic drugs used to treat this are dopamine antagonists, which tautologically reduce the active dopamine. Other conditions where dopamine is believed to be implicated include ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. So, contemporary social media platforms. There are more than a billion accounts from people from every part of the world on the major social media platforms, with Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter amongst the three most popular and widely used of these. It has become a great avenue for connection for people everywhere, opening up avenues for opportunity, development, and connection. It has undoubtedly become a pervasive part of the lives of today's modern generation. So they don't know yet, though the younger generations, they don't know life without social media. They don't know life without Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and now TikTok. Hey, Rael, thank you for stopping through. Rael, if I recall correctly, you stated that you left Facebook yourself. I'm in the process now of logging off and trying to stay out for a while, long periods of time. So the feedback loop mechanism. So guys and gals, in case in the instance of the biological sciences, I don't have a picture queued up for you. Maybe I'll do a pre-record on this. In terms of endocrinology and cell to cell signaling, when you think about a feedback loop, the body has a way of turning certain pathways off when that pathway has been activated, I'll say to a satisfactory level. So your thyroid hormones work that way, I believe. Your androgens, testosterone and estrogen, they work that way. Your catecholamines work that way. When you're talking about a feedback loop, the body has a way of stopping these pathways once they've been activated. But when you disrupt the loop, the reactions, the pathways keep going. They keep going and going and going, and they're usually not meant to keep going and going and going. Okay, that's the context for this. Nowadays, many people spend hours on end using an array of social media platforms. There have been studies into reward prediction error encoding. Okay, we're all learning something new here. I don't know what that is. Essentially, this pertains to a feedback loop related to dopamine feedback signals. This can be likened to other forms of addictive behavior, such as gambling. For example, playing on a machine in a casino, there is noted to be an intense anticipatory period. It is at this stage that the dopamine neurons are very active and firing away. However, this is not infinite. Gradually, there is a tiring, and when the cumulative negative outcomes build up, the individual can become disheartened and disengaged. The disengagement is caused by the loss of dopamine activity. Therefore, it is integral that there is a more delicate balance between the outcomes experienced. That way, the user can be kept in a loop. Essentially, that's how the social media apps exploit these innate systems. The way this comes about is through a term referred to as variable reward schedules. This works by positive stimuli being provided at random intervals, by users checking their phones for notifications and updates at periodic intervals for something that could be intrinsically rewarding. Most of the time, it's a neural stimuli, but on occasion, there may be a positive stimuli leading to the rewarding dopamine release, hence keeping the user in the feedback loop. All right, this is almost done. Yeah, I guess the same is true if you're looking for text messages from somebody or you're looking for a response. A lot of this is it's in here. It's in here. And it's real. Addiction on social media, dopamine implication. Getting text, there you go. Getting texts, likes, or messages are intrinsically rewarding. They evoke feelings of happiness and satisfaction due to the virtual social life that social media platforms mimic. However, these feelings are only temporary. And they once the initial short-lived moment wears off, individuals look for more. It has also been shown to have had an association with the many social problems that have grown in society over the past decade. It has also been linked with anxiety, depression, and sleep disturbances. Self harm and body image issues are two such contemporary difficulties facing the younger generation, thought to be largely influenced by these platforms. Yeah, you see a lot of, on all the platforms, you see a lot of strange things. A lot of strange things. People are doing a lot of strange things on these platforms, oftentimes just for, well, the attention. So, in conclusion, I'm going to wrap this up shortly, everyone. Social media today has become an integral part of people's lives worldwide. It can cause addiction. I'm sorry, it can cause addiction with dopamine implicated. This is perpetuated through feedback loop mechanisms acting through dopamine reward systems that is keeping the users in the loop. Social media has helped many people around the world in different ways, connecting people globally and providing easy access to different types of information. However, overuse of the platforms and the application algorithm by individuals may be detrimental to their physical and mental well being. There should therefore be increased awareness campaigns to address this contemporary issue and help to balance its impact on society, maximizing its positive utility and minimizing its potential adverse impacts. All right. This is below in the description box along with another piece. I'm not going to read it, but you get the idea. So I haven't seen any, and just because I haven't seen it, it doesn't mean that it's not out there, but I haven't seen any hard data on this type of phenomenon. You There aren't a lot of experiments you can do on humans, and I'm not sure how you would recreate the sensation in animals. If someone is watching this from a neuroscience or a neuroscience or a neurophysiology lab or something similar, and you know that this data has been tested, or this idea has been tested and data has been generated, please feel free to reach out. So that's pretty much all I wanted to say. This is a double header. I did something earlier on my original channel with the regarding the young woman who pepper sprayed her teacher because he took her phone. So Professor Black Ops says Meta did an experiment in 2013 for A and B checking on the post. Okay. You know what? If anyone wants to come up and does anyone want to say something about this? Does anyone have any? Okay. Professor Black Ops just shared a link with me. Okay, let me trying to copy this. Let me do it this way. No, that's not. Let me go over to the YouTube side. There we go. Copy link address. Okay. Professor Black Ops, thank you for sharing this with me. I'm going to read this myself. Facebook's Sheryl Sandberg apologizes for news feed experiment. Okay. Okay. I'm going to read this. I'm not going to do it now. So everyone, that's what I wanted to I just wanted to start to address this. I've heard lots and lots of stories about it, lots and lots of theories about it, and concern for people being on. I think some in my circle have been concerned that I'm on too much in my phone. I can think about. I'm thinking about one of my cousins on my father's side who one visit to Long Island, he was a little bit surprised by how much I was in my phone. So folks had concerns for me about this at one point, but I'm trying to push back from the table uh, to the degree that I can. Okay, I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you to those of you who came through. Yeah, there may be continuations to this one, but I just wanted to do a bit of a follow up over here to what I did over on my original channel this morning. So thank you to everyone who came through. Please consider, I know some of you guys are tired of hearing this, but that's part of what this platform is for. Please consider joining my newsletter. You know what? If some of you guys want to say something on this topic, I'll let it go for another 10 minutes or so. If anyone wants to come, I'll take guests. If not, I'll just finish my spiel and end and pick something to eat. All right, that's cool. I mean, how much? Oh, Gigami's coming up. All right, Gigami, don't take too long. I'll hang out for about 10 more minutes. All right. Well, in the meantime, this is my newsletter. There's a 2-paragraph greeting. And there is a link at the bottom. You just click that and enter in your email address, and you're part of my group. Let's see, if you want to donate something, my Cash App and PayPal are here. I don't have AdSense or a super chat over here at this time. Okay, Gigami. How's it going?
Doing good, doing good. Thank you, Dr. Dunbar, for having me on your panel today. So for the contribution, I would like to, it's especially the effects of cyber technologies, especially on the brain of children. Hayal said something in the chat that the developers of those technologies, when they have children, they tend to refrain those children from accessing those technology too early in their development. And this is something I would say that on the large scale would affect the level of discipline and delayed gratification on the mass of the population. Especially in your case, if you know, for example, when it comes to achieving higher intellectual endeavors, for example, going in academia, you need to be able to concentrate for long periods of time, not only on the single task, but also for consecutive days, for consecutive months, for a whole year, the whole curriculum, and keep on grinding to find the solutions for problems you face. But if you constantly focused on your cell phone, on the computer, without having other forms of learning experiments and to develop your disciplines, when faced later on in life with new challenges, you will always come to look out for the quick solution, the quick fix. Even it's something that has been proven through generations, to millennia. Great works requires a long time to process. As the saying goes, Rome was not built in one day. But now I saw a meme that says the dark web is the second page on Google search, because if they cannot find it instantly, they just say, you know what, let's give it up. But if you have a segment of higher class of people who are concerned about the development of their children, who delay their access to such technologies, compared to maybe people whose parents are not as involved academically, you could see now a sharp separation in the intellectual development of the populations between those who will be more educated on the effects of such technologies on the children, and those in the lower classes who will not be as developed and more inclined to just let the technology, let the TV, let the computer educate the children. In a similar way that you would find people of higher class be more concerned about nutrition, but those on the lower class being affected by those things called food deserts, because they're not as astute on the effects of proper nutritious on the body, but in this case, on the mind.
Okay, so you're of the opinion that young children should be restricted from the usage of this stuff.
Yes, indeed. They shouldn't be too much exposed. And I also, in people should develop a certain degree of intellectual rigor, even as actually beginning when they are children. We saw one of those effects, for example, another side effect during the quarantine between 2020 and 2022, when the children did not actually properly process the transition between in-class learning and homeschooling, distance learning. They did not have the proper discipline. And you observe that the parents themselves prove not to be able to properly follow up on the development of the children. If they don't have a proper discipline in class as they used to have, and then you also mix it with the new technologies, not only will you have an imbalance, you would also observe that they will be lacking throughout the following years the proper discipline for achieving higher academic success in different spheres of life.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm going to read some comments here before we wrap up. Diaspora L says, salute. Thank you for stopping through, Diaspora L. Rael says, Engineering Cannabis. We missed you last week, man, on the Tech Guys stream. He says, there are numerous studies that social media companies model marketing products with dopamine or dopamine and facial characteristics. I wouldn't doubt that. Marketing companies are very, very savvy in terms of getting people to buy. Rael says, allowing citizens to dumb themselves down is the easiest way to pacify a populace. Let's see. He says, there's no data to back that up. I think that's referring to what you stated, Giagami. And he says, salute to the other two gentlemen. Yeah, it's interesting. Well, I have a TikTok, and I don't post regularly there, and the stuff I post, I mean, people, if you look at TikTok, people, they're doing all kinds of things with music and, fake voices, and I'm not that sophisticated in terms of using it. So I do boring stuff with it, and I barely use it. But some of the things you even see grown adults doing is like, wow. It's like, in terms of attention seeking and trying to follow along with what the younger people are doing. It's amazing what you see on all the platforms. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think people should learn about the technologies, but I think when it comes to the development to children, a certain balance of the use of certain things should be necessary. They need to, because we are on the fourth industrial revolution, so they need to learn about the technologies, but they also learn to have a certain degree of discipline, which, as you observe in the video you presented about the teacher being pepper sprayed,
Mm-hmm.
the it's not just the technology. The parents, the way that the children are being supervised has been decreasing, I could say, between the past years. So now children are more allowed to behave in such a way that previous generations would find unacceptable. And then they also, when you combine it with too many factors, you observe certain behavior that for people our age would be considered unacceptable. And then you increase it with low attention span. I said, I don't find it to be one of the best combination we can observe in the society.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So that's what I would have to say for the moment. So thank you again for having me. I don't want to take too much of your time, Dr. Dunbar. So thank you again.
All right. Gigami, thank you for coming up. Professor Black Ops says, technology has nothing to do with poor parenting. I don't know that that's what he was saying, Professor. I think he was maybe getting at
I was I was not thinking
additive effects of them kind of coalescing together.
Not the
Makes for a very
technology
bad
in itself.
combination.
No, because you can find engineers are working with technology, but that's not what makes them. They don't decrease in discipline. But to become an engineer, you actually have a certain need to develop a certain degree of discipline and inquiry from a young age and keep it developed. But in the case of children, an amalgam of factors comes into play, and then especially the parenting. the parenting should be revised, I would say. But at least I think in Western societies, maybe the parents drop the ball, or the direction of the society makes so that less and less parents seem to be involved in the same way as those of previous generations, you could say.
Yeah, well, there have been a lot of societal changes. A lot of societal changes. Yeah, things are. It's a different world than it was 50 years ago. So, all right, Gigami, I'm going to drop you down and I'm going to wrap up Art New Style. Thank you for thank you for stopping through. I was listening a little bit in last night. So everyone, I'm going to wrap this up. I already did the newsletter, so I'm not going to do that again. If you're watching on the playback, please like, share, and subscribe. New subscribers are always welcome. Professor Black Ops, thank you. I hope somebody got something from this. Maybe I should have read the dopamine breakdown from the article first, because that was just kind of laid out kind of smoothly, though it didn't have any pictures. I think people, when you're learning science, it's important to see the pictures. Otherwise, you're going to get lost. That's my opinion. Yeah, I think I already thanked Aquateki for the Cash App. If I didn't, Aquateki, thank you for the Cash App. I appreciate the continued support. So, yeah, if you're new, please subscribe to the channel and look out for the next one. And with that, everyone, enjoy the rest of your Saturday and the rest of your weekend. As always, remember that your attitude determines your altitude. Always try to do your best. Take care, and I will talk to you the next time. I think if I don't have time to do a live stream next week, which I may not, I might do a pre-record on negative feedback loops in the biological context. So we'll see. All right, everyone, take care. Bye-bye.